All right, welcome back to the second installment of Etc. with myself, Jonah Jungu, and
Grant Preves. All right, let's start out, John. How you doing today?
doing quite well. Had an early start to the morning, got to go to school, work on set building for the musical, so that was a good start. What about
Nice.
yourself?
Pretty good. A friend and I went to the food pantry, and we volunteered for 4 hours around, and we just helped shop for families. They can't come in the food pantry or whatever because of COVID, so we just shop for them and then give them their carts. So that was a pretty cool, yet exhausting experience, but definitely worthwhile. All right, let's get right into it. We're going to start off with Song of the Week. Jonah, do you want to give us your song that's been one of your favorites this week?
Yeah, so honestly, this one is kind of a throwback. I wouldn't even say I've been listening to it that much, but it's a song I've always really enjoyed. Having like my background in percussion, like I grew up playing the drums, and like I have a drum set, and this used to always be a song that I would love playing the drum. Like I just throw in headphones and drum with this song. So my song of the week for the week is going to be "Separate Ways" by Journey. It's from their album Frontiers from 1983, and yeah, it's just always been a song that I've really enjoyed. I enjoy listening to it, but playing the drums along with it has always been really fun. What about you?
Mine's also kind of a throwback. I haven't again necessarily been listening to it a lot this week, but it's a favorite of mine. It's Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. Everyone knows it. Definitely my favorite Michael Jackson song. It was on the Thriller album, which was released I think in '82, and it got nominated for a Grammy. So very good. I also want to take this time to talk about not a specific song, but something different versions of songs. I think you know where I'm going here. It's called, so people, what they'll do is they'll take songs, but they'll like slow it down, right, and add some like reverb and effect. And I think it makes most songs sound 20 times better. So
Really?
it's almost kind of it's yeah, it's almost kind of a bad thing because once you listen to a song that's slowed down and there's some effects added, it like ruins the original song for you because the original one sounds terrible. So
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, there are a lot of songs that sound better. There's some songs like some just like hype songs that you can't slow
yeah,
down too much, otherwise it loses the effect. But yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from.
I agree. If it's like a hype fast song, I don't think necessarily it's better slowed down with some reverb added. But I'd say the majority of songs sound better. Like I'll get to the point where I hear a new song and I'm like, okay, this is gonna sound like pretty good slowed in reverb. So that's that. Um, let's move on to player profile. We're gonna get right into sports. That's been a happening thing this week, especially basketball. Jonah, do you want to start out with your guy? No, it's an NBA player.
Yeah, absolutely. So, similar to the last time for Grant, be real, I don't know that much about basketball, but
It's all
this is
good.
just gonna be a player that stood out to me this week. On the 15th, what day was that? I believe that was
No
Monday,
clue.
Monday the 15th. In a game against the Atlanta Hawks, had 44 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and a career high 7 3-pointers made. My player for the week is going to be Julius Randle. Um, he's in his sixth year out of Kentucky. He spent 4 years with the Lakers, a year with the Pelicans, and he is now in his second year with the Knicks, averaging 23 points a game, 5.5 assists a game, and almost 11 rebounds per game, which
That's pretty
for him
impressive.
is definitely a big step in the right direction. Many would argue that he should be an all-star this year. So I believe the starters were announced, but I'm not sure who the remainder. I'm not sure if the rest of the roster has been announced yet. But yeah, definitely been a standout year and definitely a bright spot for the Knicks. So hopefully for the Knicks, they've had some rough times in the past couple of years, but it's
Yeah.
definitely been a bright spot. What
All
about
right.
so
Cool.
who do you have for your player profile this week?
Before I get into my specific player, I we both right probably we don't know a ton about basketball, at least compared to you probably know more about football. I probably know more about baseball. But I don't know about you, but I've definitely been watching basketball a lot more recently. Can you say the same thing? It's okay if
Nope.
you haven't. It's not a trick question. Um, all right. I guess what I'm saying is I have. That's probably a better way. I've been watching a lot more basketball, and I got to admit it's a pretty fun game to watch. I'd still put football at the top as the most entertaining thing to watch. But the thing I like about basketball is games are on way more than football games, so it's always something you can watch with your dad or something, after school. And I just like the action. So my player of the week is going to be Zach LaVine of the Chicago Bulls. He went to UCLA. This year he's doing pretty stellar. He's averaging nearly 29 points a game, 5.5 rebounds a game, and about 5 assists per game. So the exciting headline about him this week was that he is the first player in Bulls franchise history since Michael Jackson, of course. Shoot. Not Michael Jackson.
The other one.
Michael, the other MJ. I knew that was gonna happen. I even spelled it out, and I still messed it up. See, I told you I didn't watch that much basketball. All right, let me say this again. Hopefully, y'all get it right. So he's the first player in Bulls franchise history to average 30 points per game or above it for over a 10-game period since Michael Jordan. All right.
There we go. Got it. Got it that time.
However, he did not make the All-Star team as a starter, but he still might have a chance to play like from reserves. I think the coaches have to decide that. So I think though, obviously LaVine's a great player and he's been great for the Bulls this year, but I think the focus really shouldn't be as much on whether or not makes the All-Star team. I think we should just still focus on making the playoffs in general. Right now, I think the Bulls are 9th in the Eastern Conference. They're behind the Hornets, I think, by 1 game. So I think they definitely have a chance to make the playoffs. And okay, it's a bummer. LaVine may or may not have deserved to make the All-Star team as a starter. But I still think the Bulls have a good chance moving forward to make the playoffs. However, the Bulls last night, they suffered a pretty tough loss against the Sixers. Joel Embiid, he scored 50 points last night, which is a career high. I know he made the All-Star team as a starter, so I thought that was kind of interesting and symbolic that LaVine, who got crushed pretty hard by Embiid, made the All-Star team as a starter. But besides that, I think I'm going to transition to a similar sports topic that's been in the news lately. It's sports gambling. I don't know about you, but one of my pet peeves now is that like during games, they're like it's like right before or after a commercial break, they'll like display like this money spreads and stuff and talk about like sports gambling. And I personally think that's a problem because I'm just not a huge fan of sports gambling. I think incentivizing it by having commentators talking about it and just showing it through visuals and stuff can be a dangerous thing. What do you think?
Yeah, I think personally, I definitely would have. I'd say I support it because at the end of the day, like no one is forcing anyone to make any bets, and it's at the end of the day, it's their money, and I think it can be great for a lot of. Well, it can work out in a lot of people's favor, and can also like with obviously right now it's not like not everywhere can have like Las Vegas casinos, but in the future you never know where that could go. That could bring job opportunities and make money for certain areas that don't have it. So I think there's a lot of positives that can be taken out of the whole situation.
I see what you're saying. I definitely agree that no one's forcing people to spend their own money. But I kind of disagree in the overall sentiment of it being positive. So I'm sure some positives might come out of it. There's positives that can come out of many situations. I agree also that just because something might be harmful to people doesn't necessarily mean it should be illegal or prohibited. But I think when it comes to something like sports betting and sports gambling in general, like a lot of youth and children watch basketball. And the thing about sports gambling is especially with how the point spreads work. Gambling is pretty much gambling. That's why it's called gambling. Like there's luck involved. Like there's no skill to it. So I think every time you do it, you're throwing your money in the air, which I guess, is fun every once in a while. But the thing about sports gambling and gambling in general is that it's highly addictive. So if you're showing these kids like and talking about sports gambling and making it mainstream, I think that can have like direct consequences in the future because if people make a little bit of money, what are they going to do? They're going to spend that money again and maybe even a little bit more gambling. So I think it can lead down a pretty negative path and end up hurting more people than it helps. I'm not saying it won't help anybody and job opportunities and things like that, but I just think it will hurt the public in general. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I definitely see that side of it, but like if you look, I mean, something very similar that happened recently you could say the exact same thing about the stock market. If you see kids getting into the stock market and they see like what we talked about it a couple weeks ago, with what happened with GameStop, a bunch of kids saw the stock price rising, they bought in, and that can be really fun. But yeah, there's a couple kids are rich and maybe set up for the rest of their life. There's also some people who are going to be in debt for the rest of their life. So
Yeah, a
there's
lot of
definitely
that.
both sides to it, and I think it would be difficult to make the same argument for like the stock market. I don't know that you would you consider that gambling?
I definitely think what those people were doing on Reddit with the stock market is gambling. I absolutely don't condone it. I think it's not necessarily a wise investment strategy. But I think the difference between what happened in terms of, with GameStop and Reddit versus like sports betting, through the NBA and televising it and promoting it is just that in terms of the NBA, that's like a large organization, an institution, like pushing it out and like televising, and I would say promoting it to like its audience, which does include children, like I said. And I think Reddit, it's completely different because that's something you kind of have to seek out. You kind of have to go online and join the subreddit and listen in. But when you're just casually watching TV, which all Americans do, you're gonna hear tidbits about sports, betting, and gambling. So I definitely agree that the stock market and sports can be both used for gambling, but I think the way in which it's advertised towards people is more prevalent in the NBA and sports in general. So that's my thoughts. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely see both sides to it. I just feel like at the end of the day, I mean, there's plenty of other things that I think a lot of people would argue aren't good that do get pushed out. I mean, there's plenty of if you look at TV commercials, there's plenty of commercials for I don't know. I mean, if you think about like the television market for like alcohol sales, I think we would all argue that that's probably not necessarily a good thing, but that and there are kids watching at the same time while all of that is occurring. So I definitely see both sides of
That's a
it,
good
but
point. That's a good point.
at the end of the day, it is the consumer's decision to go out and seek those things and spend their money. And at the
Yeah.
end, no one can force them to do that.
I'll end it on this for this conversation. Yes, consumers have their own choices, but decisions that larger organizations and firms make can indirectly impact what we do. So, not that we don't have complete free will, but it's a little tricky. But if we want to get into that, that'll be a different time because that's a completely different conversation that I have strong thoughts on. But now let's move it on to something a little, interesting. Well, not that that wasn't interesting, but in terms of space, Jonah, did you hear about the Mars rover Perseverance, which landed on Mars? I want to say Thursday, I think
Yeah, I
Thursday or
did.
Friday.
Think it was Thursday. Yeah. I don't know. Definitely pretty interesting. I felt kind of I remember with the when they a couple months ago when they sent those astronauts up to the space station. Like that was cool because they made it there in like a day. When this happened, I
Hmm.
didn't even know there was.
Yeah,
I
me
didn't
either.
they had sent anything to Mars. So it was kind of a surprise, but I thought it was pretty cool to see that happen.
Yeah, like I heard about it on Thursday, and I'm like, oh wait, they launched it like last year. So, yeah, definitely it was a surprise. I know you're not as big of a space guy as maybe me or some other people, but I always think it's just interesting just about humanity going to space in general because it makes me think, maybe someday I'll be able to go to space, which I think even if you're a space guy or not is an exciting thought experiment. So some interesting things about Perseverance, the rover. I think this is the fifth rover we've ever sent to Mars. All of them have stopped working, I think, except Curiosity, which was the previous one we sent. And they literally attached a helicopter to this one. Like they sent a helicopter to Mars, which is crazy. So it's going to be the first time that a helicopter will ever fly on a planet other than Earth, which is pretty insane. So what do you think about that, Jonah?
Yeah, I don't know. It is just really cool to be living in a time where like these technological strides are being made, and
Absolutely.
think about the future and think about what the possibilities are.
Yeah. So let's do a little quick, clever pivot into quick takes, which we're gonna have space themed. Joan, I have a quick take for you. So what is the do you think there's aliens, basically? What are your thoughts on aliens? Are you an alien guy or what?
I definitely don't think aliens are aliens the way we've always seen them in cartoons and movies.
That would make sense. Yeah.
I definitely like when I think of an alien, like I'm not thinking like ET type alien, but I think it's a little far-fetched to think that we are the only life form.
Yeah.
When you really think about how small we are, like we think we're all high and mighty, but if you like just a couple days ago I saw this video.
Well, I have been hitting the gym recently, but that's besides the point. That's besides. Keep going.
All right, so I saw this video where they started zoomed in on Earth, and then you just zoom out, and even like within our own galaxy, we're tiny, and you zoom out, and the amount of galaxies out there, like in our universe, and then the potential of all other alternate universes, I think it's a little bit unrealistic to assume that we are truly the only life form out there.
Do you think, I probably should have made this more specific, do you think there are other intelligent life forms out there, like that are capable of like creating technology and, leaving their own planet and stuff like that, or who are in the process of being able to do that like us?
I mean, I definitely want to say no. Like I can't 100% be like, no, that's not possible. I 100% think it's possible. It's just I don't know how I would ever back that up with any evidence, but I don't know how anyone could.
Yeah.
What about yourself? How do you see the whole situation?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with you there, Jonah. I'm not. There's definitely, might be, bacteria or strains of life, across the universe. I think there's actually a pretty high likelihood of that, but I don't think there's any, alien civilization that's, intelligent, that's like reached the level we have anywhere else in the universe, because, like, where are they? Like, there's this thing called the Fermi paradox, which is, if our universe is so big and there's so many, planets where life could thrive, then you'd expect to see, you'd expect to see aliens, but yet, we've been sending out radio signals for decades and we haven't seen anything. So I think, there may have been, other civilizations in the past that have tried, to, technologically, advance themselves and, move intergalactic or, interplanetary. But, maybe they just destroy themselves because, and that's a major worry with me. At time, it's hard to have faith in the human race. I definitely do think we're on the right track to do some pretty incredible, if not scary things technologically. I think the only thing standing in our way, to be honest, is just not killing ourselves in the process. And I think that's, that definitely could have been something that happened to other alien civilizations, across the universe. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. I just think to start off with what you said about like how, like, where are they? I think you could say the same thing for us. I mean, like, they're I mean, what's to say there's not these other planets, other civilizations thinking the same thing? But just like, I don't know. I'm just a kind of person. I just don't like to rule any possibility out. Until you can, no, and I don't think anyone can ever show me anything that will prove 100% that there's not something out there. Because at the end of the day, like, space is pretty much infinite, which is really hard to comprehend. But just the fact that there's okay, maybe there's an end to space somewhere, but not really an end that we can comprehend. So I don't know. I definitely think that I just don't like to rule anything out. It is basically,
Yeah,
at the end of it.
I definitely agree. It's always better to be optimistic, and I think it'd be cool if there were aliens. I personally think there's probably not, any that are like at a technologically advanced level, like I said. But I think I'm gonna end it on this. Like you said, the universe is essentially infinite. It's actually expanding, and it's kind of sad, but due to the expansion of the universe and the accelerated rate at which it's expanding, we'll never be able to like leave a certain portion. I don't think it's our galaxy, but like maybe a cluster of galaxies will never be able to leave beyond. Because I'm getting a little technical here, but even if we could travel the speed of light, which is the fastest you can go, you'll still never be able to leave. So we're basically stuck in a very small portion of the universe, which is kind of sad. But
Yeah.
hate to be a Debbie Downer, but maybe there'll be wormholes or something. Who knows?
You never know. Can never rule anything out, right?
Exactly. My advice would just be Elon Musk is going to figure it out. I think just go with that guy. He's going to figure it all out.
We trust. Oh, that was kind of sick. I think.
What'd you say?
In Musk, we trust.
Oh, maybe that would be his presidential candidate. I think his slogan. I think he should run.
I think I should send that to him, and then he should pay me because I came up with it.
Yeah, he'll pay you. Even if he paid you like $10 billion, he'd still be the richest guy in the world, which is crazy. But again, probably a topic for another episode. I'm a huge fan of Musk. A little disturbed about what he's doing with some technology, but that's again, we'll get to that later. But do you have any closing thoughts before we close off the episode there?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, thanks again for listening. Hopefully we can get some audience participation, at least get some new ideas flowing the next couple episodes. Definitely try to put something out, or just feel free to reach out to either one of us with any ideas for the podcast. And yeah, Grant, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, if there's any listeners out there who want to pay us, please do so. Like, I'm all open ears when it comes to money. So if you have any, anything you want us to promote, within reason, no, I'm kidding. I mean, I'm not.
If you want to give a brand deal, I know Grant's kind of against the whole thing, but I might.
I mean,
for the right.
Exactly. I'm more of a non-profit thing going here. But if Nike reached out, I'm not going to turn down Nike. I mean,
it'd have to be crazy to do that.
I'd help their brand greatly, be able to reach a whole new wide range of audience through this podcast, which has, several tens of listeners at this point.
Yep.
So yeah, but besides that, thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time. This has been Excedra.